NBC5 Investigates has uncovered records showing that the city spent $80,000 renovating a single office to be used by Mayor Johnson's wife, the First Lady of Chicago.
It's pretty jacked up the way you frame that.
Right.
It is. It is. It's disrespectful and condescending. It's disrespectful. Do you have a question for me? I'm gonna help you out.
Yeah.
Ask me the question if I believe that we should invest in our children and make sure we don't lay off brown and black women. Yes.
Yes, you heard me. Brandon Johnson, Chicago mayor, is completely crashing out.
We begin with the chaos inside Chicago public schools. The entire school board suddenly turning in their resignations today. All part of that bitter tug of war between the mayor and CPS.
Before we talk about how much money Brandon Johnson spends on his wife and renovations, let's talk about this situation here. It's shocking that we see such mass resignations from the CPS board members under Mayor Johnson's watch. This level of dysfunction is unheard of, especially when the mayor himself handpicked the board members. This is a sign that something is deeply wrong with Johnson's leadership. This bitter conflict between his office and the CPS has boiled over, and the entire school board quitting at once shows that Johnson is not managing the situation effectively. This is a critical failure when people feel they have no choice but to quit in protest.
Brandon Johnson has pushed for the school's CEO to resign, and the district is facing contract negotiations with the teachers union looking for big raises. It appears board members have had enough.
What had been tension between Mayor Johnson and Chicago Public Schools has developed into a full-blown crisis as his 7 hand-picked members of the Board of Education announced their resignation. This after declining to fire CPS CEO Pedro Martinez and amid ongoing contract negotiations with the powerful Chicago Teachers Union.
So I'm not here to defend the quality of the Chicago public school system. Just like most places in our country, the public school system is trash. The kids are underperforming. These kids are unfortunately the victims of how terrible the school system has been put together. But I want to talk about Mayor Johnson's inability to manage the situation, to manage the tension between his office and the CPS. His 7 hand-picked board members resigning is a huge red flag. It's one thing to have disagreements, but it's another to completely lose control of the critical aspect of the city government, like public education. Johnson's focus seems all about consolidating power rather than making decisions that serve the students and the families of Chicago. So this is just a disaster in the making for the CPS and the city's future.
Several board members were agitated by a pressure campaign from the mayor's office to fire Martinez and to approve a high-interest short-term loan to help plug a budget gap and pay for a large new teachers union contract.
I've never, ever in my 25 years in public office have seen any type of dysfunction, disorganization as you are seeing right now today.
One-time Progressive ally 40th Ward Alderman Andre Vasquez posted that he is deeply concerned by the mayor's actions. Quote, the fact that this pressure would lead to an entire board, all of which were appointed by the mayor to resign, is unprecedented and deeply alarming.
When even your own progressive allies start turning on you, you know things are going downhill fast. Brandon Johnson is crashing out. Even the alderman calling out the mayor shows that Johnson is alienated not just his critics, but those who once supported him. This isn't just a political disagreement. This is a complete breakdown in trust. Johnson is on a path of isolation. And once you lose your allies, it becomes almost impossible to govern effectively.
Social media posts from the CTU echo the mayor's messaging and blame the dysfunction squarely on Martinez. Mayoral critics like 9th Ward Alderman Anthony Beal fear the mayor will, in the interim, appoint 7 members who will do his and the CTU's bidding.
So the alignment between Mayor Johnson and the Chicago Teachers Union is causing even more concern. The fear that Johnson will replace the board with people that will just rubber stamp everything he wants and be loyal to him is a problem. This suggests that instead of fixing the issues at hand, Johnson is looking to consolidate power and push through an agenda that benefits his allies at the expense of the city's educational system. His actions are approaching corruption, as he seems more focused on control rather than the well-being of the students and the teachers that he's supposed to be serving.
Namely, firing Martinez, approving that loan, and giving in to CTU's contract demands.
I really believe that they're going to try to appoint basically a rubber stamp board of his CTU colleagues and friends in order to give CTU everything that they want before this board takes effect.
So, Mayor, to the outside world, this kind of does look like, because the CTU was your biggest backer, to some it may look like a coup by the CTU to get rid of the board members who would not do your bidding and fire Pedro Martinez. Can you respond to that?
What's the question?
The question is, this looks like a coup by the CTU to get rid of Pedro Martinez. Was there collaboration with the CTU on your part to make this happen so that you could fire Pedro Martinez?
So every single mayor in the history of Chicago has had the authority to appoint board members to multiple boards. Guess who still has that authority? The mayor. This mayor does. Thank you.
He didn't really answer the question. So this accusation gets to the heart of the matter. Whether Johnson is consolidating power by using his ties to the Chicago Teachers Union. If true, this points to a larger problem with political manipulation, the backroom deals, the corruption. Johnson's reaction to this critical question will determine how deep his involvement goes. Alleging allegations of orchestrating a coup will signal not just mismanagement, but potential corruption. The real issue is whether Johnson can be trusted to lead the city independently, or if he's merely a puppet for powerful unions. I think he's a puppet for powerful unions. The CTU gives him a lot of money. He has to do the bidding for the CTU. That's how it works in politics. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, only the students and teachers get hurt when this type of thing happens.
I'm wondering if any of the board members can answer this question. Actually, if all of you can, just maybe even just a show of your hands. How many of you support taking out a
we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
For a teacher's contract?
If you have a question for the mayor of Chicago, you can ask me a question. What you are not going to do is litigate what the board has the authority to do once they're appointed. You can ask that once they are appointed. No. I'm not going to do it. It's disrespectful. Do you have a question for me?
Okay, I'm sorry. You brought them up here, and it is a precedent.
Do you have a question for me? Ask me the question.
Okay.
Ask me if I support, I'm going to help you out.
Yeah.
Ask me the question if I believe that we should invest in our children and make sure we don't lay off brown and black women. Yes.
There he goes. There he goes. When you are backed into a corner, got to throw those identity politics out there. Mayor Johnson's aggressiveness and his assertion of his authority seems designed to shift the focus away from the real issues. His decisions regarding the CPS and the implications for the city. The way he's speaking just comes across as a deflection tactic meant to reinforce his power rather than address the concerns. His insistence that he is just following a law doesn't answer the allegations of political favoritism or collaboration with the Chicago Teachers Union. This is a classic example of using bold rhetoric to obscure potential government failures. This response further undermines confidence in his transparency and leadership. The dude starts throwing out race when the question was, is it responsible to take a high-interest loan to appease your friends at the CTU? He didn't answer that question.
Okay, do we have a couple more questions back here?
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh my God, I am doing terrific.
Well, good afternoon. Mayor, is this a good week to go to London for a Bears game? And also, who's going to pay for that trip?
All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to London to attract business to Chicago. Okay? I'm going to London to attract business in Chicago.
Correct.
Hold on a second. Because you already know the answer to that. But I just want to make sure that you do the people of Chicago service. Because I have to be very honest with you. It's pretty jacked up the way you frame that.
Right.
It is. It is. It's disrespectful and condescending.
Yes, it is.
That the black man is going to London for a game. It's disrespectful. It is. And people get away with that too much.
They do.
The governor went to Tokyo. The governor went to Tokyo to attract business. The mayor of Chicago is going to London to attract business.
Well, the governor's not that great either. But there go Brandon Johnson. When he's backed in the corner, he'll talk about how black he is. Well, let's talk about how responsible Brandon Johnson is with his wife and the money that the taxpayers are spending on her renovations.
As the city of Chicago grapples with a massive budget shortfall, NBC5 Investigates has uncovered records showing that the city spent $80,000 renovating a single office to be used by Mayor Johnson's wife.
This is outrageous. So at a time where Chicago is facing a massive budget shortfall, $80,000 was spent renovating an office for Mayor Johnson's wife. That shows a complete disregard for the city's financial struggles. But maybe because he's black, it's okay. I don't know. This isn't just bad optics. This is borderline corruption. I believe it is corruption. How can a mayor justify such wasteful spending when the city is considering layoffs to make ends meet and also taking high interest loans to pay off the buddies at the Chicago Teachers Union? The fact that public money is being funneled into personal luxuries is a clear sign that Johnson's priorities are completely out of touch with the needs of the people.
First Lady of Chicago.
The receipts show that city workers did much of the labor and billed the city for that work.
Chicago's financial challenges raise questions about why the city spent more than $80,000 renovating this office in the Cultural Center for First Lady Stacey Johnson. Invoices obtained by NBC5 Investigates show the work began in room 306 as early as February and continued through August, with city workers, including painters, carpenters, and electricians, clocking more than 350 hours of time, billing the city for more than $25,000 in labor costs. Invoices also show more than $11,000 went to a vendor to replace tile and carpeting. Another invoice shows more than $43,000 was spent on furniture alone.
Is this an office or a house? $43,000 on furniture? Is this some kind of mansion? That's ridiculous. Now, it's one thing to allocate public funds for necessary expenses, but this, spending $43,000 on furniture and spending up to $25,000 in labor costs for an office renovation at a time of a financial crisis, this is an insult to the people of Chicago. The sheer excessiveness of the spending is mind-blowing. While city workers face uncertainty about their jobs due to potential layoffs, the mayor's office is outfitted with luxury furniture. This is not just bad decision-making. This is a blatant misuse of taxpayer money that borders on the abuse of power.
I'm wondering if you could help define what is the role of the First Lady in your administration, and how do we justify spending upwards of $80,000 to redecorate an office for her and staff in our current financial situation?
So the Cultural Center has always been a location for dignitaries. Every First Lady has had office space, there.
He is doing a great job explaining this. A great job. This is going to ease the concerns of the people of Chicago. I'm being sarcastic.
Renovations for my office or any other office is standard procedure.
Is there any concern about optics of spending $4,000 on a desk or $4,000 in club chairs at a time when the city is in this sort of budget hole?
Yeah, the purchase of a desk is not going to change the financial, the structural damage that has been in place for a very long time.
Are you serious? Are you serious? So because things are bad, who cares? Just keep spending money. Who cares? Spend the $4,000 on a desk. Things are already effed up as it is. Johnson's dismissal of the public concerns for this desk shows his arrogance. He's trying to brush off the criticism by framing it as insignificant, not a big deal, in the larger context of Chicago's financial problems. But he's completely missing the point. The problem isn't just the desk. It's what the extravagant represents. When a city is in financial issues, spending this kind of money on personal luxuries sends a message that Johnson is out of touch and does not care about the people in Chicago. This defensive response only further exposes his poor judgment and his mismanagement and his corruption.
So this is why we ask, and I mean this respectfully, we ask far more profound questions than that. We ask, how do we make sure that the structural damage that's been created over the course of decades, that we reroute the rivers, if you will?
You can help by rerouting the rivers by not spending $4,000 on a desk. You gotta start small with your expenses. Show everyone how you are managing your money. But it doesn't seem like he managed his money well either.
To make sure that it gets to the places where there's dry land. And that's what we're doing.
Johnson voiced displeasure with our questions, but they were born out of these receipts, which show an order for this executive chair costing more than $2,200, a desk labeled for the First Lady running more than $4,400, another staffer's desk $4,600, and 2 club chairs costing more than $8,000.
So this is just more examples of wasteful spending. These are not the priorities of a mayor who is focused on pulling the city out of a financial crisis. At a time where every penny should be scrutinized, this kind of lavish spending is unacceptable. It reflects a mayor who does not care. He wants to look good. He wants to spend $30,000 on his hair and makeup. Again, I don't get it. The fact that this is happening under Johnson's watch show that his administration is heading into the wrong direction. He is completely crashing out.
The question wasn't necessarily about just the dollar amount, but about the optics of that. We just had a very contentious council meeting, so I'm just wondering if you're concerned about that optics.
So I've been mayor for 17 months, and you have a question about how I feel about optics? Just go back and review the tape. If I were to allow my leadership to be based on someone's opinion of me, it would be a derelict of duty. I never question my position to invest in people. I don't do this for optics. I do this to transform lives.
So spending that much money on desks and chairs is investing in people. This guy's crazy.
And while not uncommon for first ladies to have a role or an office in the cultural center, a spokeswoman for the Larry Lightfoot's administration told me that they did not do any major renovations or redecorating to that room during her term.
So even Lightfoot had to say, no, this is what he's doing is ridiculous. The comparison to the Lightfoot administration that wasn't well from everything that I researched makes Johnson's actions even more damning. If the previous administration didn't see a need for such extravagant renovations, why does Johnson? His decision to spend so much on his wife office space during a financial crisis highlights how misguided he is and how misguided his priorities are. So there you have it. Chicago is not in a good spot because it's led by someone who doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't care. As long as he gets what he needs, everyone else can go fend for themselves. So what do you guys think about this story? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.